At some point, I've sworn to myself, I took a vow that I would make the attempt at some point to make a rye wine. But any brewer in your audience is going to roll their eyes and say, oh man, you don't know the trouble you're asking for. That is a lot of glucose.
Yeah,
like all those proteins will kill your mash. I'm like, we can make that happen. I'm sure we can.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we are in the St-Hubert region in the South Shore of Montreal, and we're at Le Barrage with Max. Thank you very much for hosting us today. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to speak with us about your business, your brewing, and obviously your passion of craft beer.
My pleasure.
So, awesome.
Welcome to our humble abode.
Yes, it's great. So you brought me out a lot of tasty-looking beers here to try. What am I starting with here?
That's La Sauce, our simple pale ale, not the most expressive, but the most approachable. Just a very simple blonde ale.
Oh. And as we do on the show, it's a toast.
Toast.
Oh yeah, super light, very crushable, barely any bitterness.
Yep.
It's
highly pintable, high volume beer. It's the one we try to use to bring people in. If they've come from the commercial beer market and they're discovering us, that's our surefire way to get them involved.
That's always a question we ask is what's that beer where you have the Molson guy come in and he's like, I want a beer.
That's the one.
That's awesome. So what's the beer story? What created Le Barrage?
Well, Le Barrage is a very old project started by my partner Martin. Martin is at the origin of the project. He had been working on his home brew for the longest time, so for the better part of 10 years, working from home. He got involved with a few breweries, got his kicks there, and then we took a class, and that's where we met. And that was 2014. We took a brewing course with Michel Gauthier, who trained so many brewers in Quebec. It's just a name you'll hear so often. So we start talking, what would you like? What do you like to brew? Are you happy to be here? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm trying to start a brewery in Longueuil. Oh, right, me too. Well, let's talk. And it turned into a larger project. So we're three partners, his brother-in-law and him and me. Martin are the two brewers, and our third guy is more of a numbers guy. Because you gotta have one, otherwise you don't survive. You never get that financing.
Yeah.
And that's how we started. And we opened up a place. It was kind of hard to get the proper zoning done in Longueuil, but this place welcomed us, and they knew we had a project that really matched with the objectives that they set for themselves here: local commerce, craft artisan goods, all of that good stuff. And so we started 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the market is very small right now in the South Shore of Montreal, I find. There's kind of Kanawake, Champs-Libre, you guys, Elements, and now Toltec. Yeah. And that's the only ones I can really think of. And then you're going a little further out when you're St. Bruno and things like that. So it's a slower emerging market, I find, than obviously Montreal, because that's where the numbers are. But you're right next to the St-Hubert airport. People are going to come here, and it's a public market, which people are naturally drawn to. For those of us on the show who support local, this is where you're going to come. So that's great. Yeah. And so obviously you said the city was very welcoming. What made you decide the Marché Public or public market of St-Hubert?
Well, it was a lack of opportunity in other places.
Yeah, okay.
Because at first we wanted to go on Saint-Charles, which is the street if you want to go for that old school, small town cachet, tourist attraction. But there was no room for us. They only allotted certain permits in places that had existing permits grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So big hurdle there, but once we came here, it was as if all the walls had shattered and it just come in. They welcomed us. They helped us set up, and here we are 5 years later.
I mean, it's been a change.
First craft microbrewery in Longueuil.
Yeah. You guys have had a big change, because I remember when I first came here, you had a small brew house. And then the next time I came, there was no brew house, and now there's a brew house again. So.
Well, there was never a small brew house here before.
Okay, I thought there was.
No, we just used to store a lot of junk in there.
Okay.
So it might have given the impression with all the kegs laying in there. They're finally brewing. Yeah, not with just the kegs. That came this year. Okay. We received our brew house after years of getting our money together and looking for different models that we liked. So we finally got our hands on the setup done in February. It finally came in. There was a lot of of delays involved with shipping
Oh my
last
God.
year.
Yeah.
People looking at their shelves and wondering when the stuff would come in. We had the same problem here. So one thing led to another. We finally got our permit sometime in May and started brewing then just in time for the reopenings. And it's been crazy ever since. We're up to like our latest brew is number 28 now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Been
mean,
a
I
lot
know
of
it's a little more wintry right now, but you guys have that beautiful side patio. Obviously, being part of the market, people are allowed to grab food from neighbors, bring them in, have a beer while they're eating food. So, it's like you said, it's very welcoming. They brought you in, and it seems like all you guys work together here, which is awesome.
Yep.
And I see you do have a fully stocked bar from.
Yep.
It looks like mostly local
Like,
Quebecois.
I can't name a single gin on that shelf
Yeah.
that is not made in Quebec. So.
That's even better. And the full bar experience on top of that. Obviously, there's kids. I see there's crayons and stuff. So just bring in the family, eat some tacos or shish taouk and
As a
come grab
funny
beer.
quirk of fate, because we now have the permit to brew on the premises,
Yeah.
that unlocked like a more family-friendly experience because the permit will allow you to have kids up until 10 p.m. Inside also, whereas before that it would only be in the summer at the terrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. What's beer number 2 I'm trying here?
Beer number 2, you're looking at Barrage, which is our flagship IPA. More of a West Coast style, the old school that was really popular in the early 2000s that got us all involved with the hops.
Awesome. Toast.
Toast.
Oh, yeah. That's classic. It's got a little bit of maltiness to it, I find.
Just a bit,
It's-
yeah. That's the biscuit malt talking.
I am starting to enjoy that. Like, I do still enjoy the big, bold, flavorful New Englands, but occasionally when I'll catch like an old school malty or IPA, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm missing. So
Still to this day, my favorite IPAs are on the maltier side.
Yeah.
Like the early English IPAs with those older, earthier, spicier hops.
yeah.
Yeah.
Le Barrage, where does that name come from?
Oh, that's one of Martin's concepts.
Okay.
Because he had been working on that for the longest time. In his conceptualization of that, basically a barrage, a dam, there's an allegory for it that is more closer attuned to the French language, but basically it's a place of transformation.
Okay.
Here in Quebec, it's a huge symbol for us collectively that our hydroelectric dams up north have been such a source of like inspiration and power. So you basically turn water into power, into electricity. His vision was always like, let's turn water into beer and have a beer barrage, a beer dam. And it's just evolved from there, and it's gained other connotations as well. Anybody looking at our ceiling would see like more like a beaver dam theme. And we've played around with the idea also, and it's led us to this point where it's more like the philosophical idea, like the Platonic ideal of a dam, than just like a hardcore definition of it.
I'm assuming with the ceiling, it's all like repurposed wood.
Yep.
So
that was from an old barn that was taken down, and I had those planks in my house for the longest time, just drawing, long before the project was even a thing.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
we just ended up using that.
Yeah. Are your flights, your pallets also made of the same repurposed wood, or is that
No,
someone-
that was done by a friend of ours, Roger Cortez, RC ébéniste.
Okay.
Great guy, does wonderful work with wood. We're also looking to collaborate with him on future projects. We have a case over there which will be a specialty case holding basically these special glasses with clients' names on it for the select club of regulars, and we can renew it every year. We'll be announcing somewhere in the area of February.
So like a
coinciding
mug
with
club.
our 5th anniversary.
Yeah, mug clubs are awesome. I love the concept. It's like, oh, if you're a regular, you get your glass 10% off or whatever you're going to offer. It's a yearly membership, and cheaper merch, whatever you want. So that draws a lot of people like me who, if I lived in the area, I'd immediately be part of it. Now, I don't live in the area, but it's I love the concept of having a mug club because it is a community when it comes to beer, and we all want to be part of that community in a sense. So that's awesome. I like that idea, and we'll definitely have to share that on social media when it's up and running. So it's great. You have some interesting names for the beers: Le Barrage, Panic. Well, Seasoned Seigle is pretty obvious, but so what made you guys decide that naming convention and not going like, Max's beer, Martin's, home street name type things
Well,
like that.
La Source is basically just a pun on water. Basically, like, because it's the first one, it's the beer that's at the origin of the project. It's La Source, that's the name that Martin gave it. Barrage is because we needed to name at least one beer after the entire shtick. Panic, you're going to laugh for a minute because usually that beer would be called Manic. That's the one that we have right here, the red label. Manic is named after the hydroelectric dam, Manic 5, that we have in up north. Large project, very influential, inspired songwriters and poets. When Halloween came, we wanted to do a different version of that beer, so we used pumpkin for it. No spices, just a pumpkin flesh, and called it Panic because we were such funny mofos.
I'm when it comes to fall, it's the white person in me is like, I need everything pumpkin.
Oh yeah.
So
I'll be that scarf wearing white girl for a bit.
Yeah.
D'autres Pingouin is a bit of a pun. If you look at the wall of the bar behind us, when we did the renovations in 2016, that was the name of the color of the paint. And we always said, like, oh, we're going to have to name a beer after that at some point because it's too hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Session Seigle is basically a rose by any other name. It's just something that we whipped up last minute this summer and has been very good to us.
That's good.
And that's probably our most boring name so far, but it works. It's descriptive. La Mervet is basically a pun on l'amertume because it was a beer that we brewed with hops that we collected in Mont-Saint-Bruno. There was this good guy, I believe his name is Mathieu, I might be wrong, who invited us to his place. We had a few beers and we collected hops from his backyard, and that's the hops that we used for that recipe.
Yeah. The home brewer we personally interviewed, he has his own hops that he grows in the backyard, but obviously he still has to, when he's brewed big, he has to go to the pelletized form. So it's a big change when we went to a brew day at his house, he used the pellets, and then the next time at a brew day, he's using the actual hops. Yep. So it's
and hop cones are a bit different to work with. They will soak up a lot of water, and it's true for the home brewer. It's even more true for us.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, you're doing everything on a much larger scale per liter wise, right? So you have to factor that all in. Do you use any softwares, or is that all in your own mind?
We tend to work a lot with Beersmith.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
It's a classic. It works. It's done the rounds. And before that, I was a big believer in Brewer's Friend because of the online approach. I still use it for small calculations and off the hook. Like, okay, gotta check this out first. But for the most part, we build our recipes in Brewsmith and just work from there.
What's this next beer I'm trying?
Next one is the big sister of the one you just had.
Okay.
From Barrage to Double Barrage. It's basically a double West Coast IPA. It's everything little sister is, but more. So stronger, maltier, and more hops.
Nice. Let's do a toast. Oh yeah, exactly as you described. Like bigger flavors. So. See, that's something that I find I could easily just chill out, have a pint of, not feel like I have to rush it in any way. It's one of those kind of not really sessionable. Sessionable is the wrong word. It's kind of the opposite of sessionable. It's like a slow drinking beer, almost like when you're drinking a stout, and the warmer it gets, I find sometimes it brings out other flavors. I'm sure this is, the more I let it, just kind of sit there, will bring out bigger flavors.
It's got a nice evolution to it because Barrage has got its nice little bouquet of hops, but this one is very similar, and we double dried hop. Some of the stuff that we use, there's this great finish with Centennial hops. You'll get all the grassy side, the floral elements, and some of that spice. But it's definitely a colder months beer that we brewed for the coming of the fall.
Yeah, no, it's great. So I usually ask this question, but this will kind of have a caveat. So you actually have guest taps.
We do.
Which is super rare, I find now. Obviously, you started before you were brewing your own beers in-house. You were having other breweries here. What made you also, one, stick to that, and two, what's your decision behind those guest taps you have?
Well, we've had this weird evolution, like this curve of what proportion of our beers and guest taps that we would have, depending on the year you were talking to us. When we started out, we were doing contract brewing with a bunch of different breweries. We kind of migrated from one to the next, following one of our friends, Jean-Philippe Barbeau, another very, very common name you'll hear. A bit of a mentor to us, great guy. So whenever he would change breweries, we would follow him and have like, okay, let's brew with you because we know you, we trust you.
That's great.
But that got expensive real quick because contract brewing is not the most economically viable when you're starting out. And we learned that real quick that, okay, we could roll that back and maybe start selling only guest taps for the time being. And we did that for the longest time until we could get our legs and get the system installed. But it got us there, and we're still very grateful for the rest of the craft beer community, especially in Quebec, where it's very much a community. There's very little snobbery. Everybody's collaborating. Everybody's in constant communications. People doing favors for one another, like, oh, I'm missing these ingredients. What do you have on hand? And everybody coming to the rescue of each other. That has been our experience so far, and we've always been like very keen to like bring in like, oh, we like this style, bring it in. People are asking for this. Let's have it on tap. And we have a few breweries that always come back at some point or another. And we try to go for like more rare stuff eventually when we can get our hands on it.
Yeah.
Because keg availability is not what it has been. Because when a lot of venues closed, well, nobody was buying kegs.
Yeah.
So a lot of breweries had to basically make a decision. Okay, let's convert a lot of our production to cans. Like, let's scale that up. And when we opened again, well, it was a good thing for us that we started brewing because while prices have been relatively stable, and we're really grateful for that, availability of beer in kegs has been a little harder. And there's been a loss of variety for us, which we're hoping will, blow over in time.
The fact that you guys like share each other, have this love for each other and want each other to succeed is so important.
Oh yeah, well the truth of it is a lot of us started home brewing at first, and then we rotated into the big leagues, and this is our lives now. Yeah. But I think for the most part, we remember that time where people were just like exchanging ideas and recipes, and oh, what do you have extra? Like, what can we work with? And just meeting at festivals and hugging it out, shaking hands, sharing a brew. That was the best time. Let's have that again going on.
What's this next one I'm going for?
You're looking at Panic.
Okay.
So basically our American Amber Ale with a twist of Ye Old Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's a toast.
I'm getting the hang of this.
Mm-hmm. That's how it started. It was like cheers for a while, and my videographer Phil, he's like, no, we need to make it big and bold, and he's like, toast. So
it's the reality of YouTube. You gotta have your catchphrase.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow, super smooth. Pumpkin's not like overpowering in any way with the spices.
Basically, just giving a little more texture, rounding things out. Which it's already a very rounded beer because the Amarillo hops. It's a single hop beer. That'll have a lot of a variety you can get from a single hop. Amarillo, when you put it in a boil, tends to go very round, very inviting. Mm-hmm. But as an aromatic, you'll get all those floral notes that people love. Give that sharp edge that just basically heightens everything.
Yeah, it's not because there's obviously McCausland's St. Amboise pumpkin is it's pumpkin. Mm-hmm. It's there.
Full on.
but for them, when I drink the McCausland pumpkin, it's only once a year during this month on their terrace because it's a beautiful big open terrace, and obviously not right now because it's winter. Well, it's technically late fall in Quebec. It's not nice to sit out there in the cold. So
and you blink and it's gone because those pumpkin ales, people have famine mentality when they show up. Oh, gotta get mine.
Yeah.
I'm very fond of Halloween by Trèfle Noir myself.
Yeah.
It's been a classic. Every year I gotta have it.
No, it's the season. It's not like I'm looking for a pumpkin beer when I should be drinking winter warmer. So it's obviously a big difference. Now I see you do growlers and cans.
Yep.
Obviously the market demands cans, so that's why you went there. How do you feel growlers are with the community of? You're obviously seeing the same people come back with growlers and wanting
growlers. We've had a steady stream of people asking for them, and it's a great way for the availability of beers that we don't always have in cans. Because cans, you have to get the cans, order the labels, make sure you have a session for that, and we usually go for our best sellers in cans for now. And growlers are a great opportunity to taste every other one at home.
Yeah.
So if we have it on tap, it's available in growler.
And even the guest taps you put in growlers?
Well, by law we can't do
Okay,
that, so
okay.
it's just for our beers for now.
Okay. Yeah, we got
Until something changes.
I know. The beer laws in Canada, as craft beer drinkers who, because of where we live in Canada, obviously we're right there where America is, and their beer laws are a lot more loose than ours are.
Yeah.
So
and it tends to change from state to state. Also, it's a bit like a strange mosaic of rules over there. Also,
yeah. But
like
it
the
is
way
frustrating.
that craft breweries can operate, the way the liquor stores are handled. So, well, at least we're consistently weird about things
Yeah.
and very restrictive in some ways. But we also have the APMQ lobbying for us in a variety of ways that will lead to a better craft beer experience for the customer, I think.
Awesome. What's the next beer I'm going to be trying here?
You're looking at number 5. That's D'autres Pingouin.
Okay.
Like you're going in the same order? Yeah, that's the one. It's basically a black American barley wine.
Oh
yeah.
oh yeah.
I had a hankering for that style for the longest time, and I wanted something that was more hop forward, hence the American style. And basically, the inspiration came from Les Trois Mousquetaires.
Okay.
Because they used to make an American barley wine, which I loved so very, very much. It was citrusy, resiny, orange peel forward, very complete, very rounded out beer. I absolutely loved, and we hoped to do the style justice by making this weird paint color pun.
Yeah,
with this one.
I mean, barley wines are super rare, so yeah, it's beautiful nose.
Toast.
Oh, see, it's not like the palate. It's not like an overly boozy barley wine. I find barley wines are very difficult to nail. It's either way too boozy or not boozy, and this is really well balanced.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny the way it ended out because we had a switch in hops during the brewing session. My mistake, that was me, but it kind of ended up all right, and it almost tastes like a double Cascadian dark ale, if you will.
Yeah.
Which is strange, but I'll take it. People love it so far.
I know where you are. I don't know if they do like an open air market thing at the same time. Like during the winter, will there be kind of a Marché Public outside? Where you could have like a winter festival, and I know Benelux did in Verdun. They did a heated barley wine for their winter festival, obviously before the world shut down. And it was like, it's just such a change. Like, it's a warm barley wine. What's going on here? Like, it's all the flavors are just kicking my butt, and it's like, it's a good thing I can walk home from here because that's a 10% beer. So
that's definitely interesting because Martin and I have been for the past 2 weeks, and for the next 2 weeks coming up, we've been presenting this beer here, L'Atrade, and our other canned products at the Christmas market here in Longueuil. So we do weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, and we do tasting, we give out samples, we promote everything that we got, we try to bring people in here. And because of the cold weather, people have been asking us like, well, you want to do something next year that'll be like warmer and stuff? We're like, we're working on it. Yeah. This is exactly our lane. At some point, we're going to be doing exactly what you were describing. Whether it's at the Christmas market or if we start a little event here to try and bring people to the market here, we'll see. But it's definitely something that we see in our future.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I know you have guest taps. Have you collabed on making a beer with another brewery in Quebec, or just let's say for your stout with a I always mispronounce it, a coffee maker in Quebec?
Well, we haven't done anything so far because we're still finding our legs.
Okay.
We're getting our brewery legs. But it's not written in the sky that it's not happening.
Are there anybody who's like a kind of those couple of dream collaborations? If you could, let's say, get to Vermont and brew with, obviously a lot of people say Sean Hill from Hill Farmstead and things like that. So is there kind of those Quebec, Ontario, USA dream collaborations that you'd love to do?
I think for the moment we'd like to stay local for that, but definitely, I can think of a few names I would love to collaborate with. There are some breweries out there that have similar patterns to us, or they have. I think their styles would nicely dovetail into ours, and we could definitely work something out. We just have to have the courage to ask them at some point because this has not been the case so far. We're still getting our beat going, trying to like rush to get the production levels that we need here. But that will come in the future, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, even if you guys kind of do the way I see it is like a South Shore collaboration. It's like you, Toltec, Elements, and Trois Mousquetaires and Brasseurs just all get together and make a beer. So
Could be done.
Yeah.
That or a tap takeover, sky's the limit.
Exactly, and especially with the brewing community, as you mentioned, you guys just share the love. So, and from what I've seen, Drew from Kanawaki said it's literally just drinking beer and then chucking ingredients in the mash tun.
I miss Drew. I used to work with him when I was doing graphics. He was doing programming.
Okay.
So we met years before either of us was involved with craft beer. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
It is. It's an incredibly small world in brewing. And as you mentioned, your teacher. So did you go to like Sherbrooke or what Quebec kind of brewing university did you go to?
Basically, it was a week-long course.
Okay.
Back before there were all these cool programs that you could follow in St-Hubert now. 2014 was like one of the last years before they rolled out these programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And again, before the pandemic, we were at the university tasting at ETS in downtown. And
they have their own system.
Yeah, and you meet Sherbrooke, you meet these guys, and they all brew at Collectif, Brasserie Collectif there in Boucherville. So it's like you could try these university student beers. And speaking with Ontario-based beer writers, it's the same thing. They do one for the Niagara School of Brewing. And when I first got into craft beer, I'm like, I wanted to go balls to the wall, as they say. And it's like, I'm going to enroll in school. Oh, it's a 3-year waiting list. So no,
Yep.
I have to find a real job. I have to have a real life. And obviously brewing isn't in the cards for me still at the moment. But the fact that I get to come out and speak with you about your passion is more where we've become. So
I think we were some of the lucky ones where we got away with less credentials to produce. So when we started out, it was basically okay as long as you have a mentor who can attest that you're doing everything all right. You're good. I'm like, okay, good. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And we learned as we went.
No, that's amazing. And you could see it. I mean, you've obviously seen it with the competition and the friendships out there. How much craft beer as a whole has grown in Quebec, Ontario, America. It's just, we mentioned pre-show, there's been more that have opened and closed during the pandemic, and it's obviously a viable business idea, but it does cost a lot of money and a lot of time. And
I'm getting Vietnam flashbacks here.
Yeah. But you guys are still going, and like I said when I spoke with you pre-show, it's great that you're still here. You're finally making your own beer. That's more available here, and not having to like run around and go to Collectif or go to Ma Brasserie or go to all these other breweries and be like, hey, we got to brew a beer. We're making it in my house.
Yep.
It's a lot more obviously cost effective for you and your two partners, so it's super important.
Though shout out to La Gabière and Ma Brasserie, because when we were brewing with them, they've been a tremendous help.
Yeah, hopefully future interviews for the show is La Gabière and Ma Brasserie.
Oh, you should visit the new facilities.
Yeah.
They are amazingly huge.
And we're hoping to overhop at some point too, because Brazilian beer in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. It's like, what? So, yeah.
Gimme.
Yeah, for sure. What's this next one I'm trying here?
Next, you're looking at what I'm drinking right now,
Okay.
Session Seigle. Basically, it's our riff on La Petite Tranquille by Charlevoix. So it's a small beer, session ale, 3.4%. It's forward on the rye side. So there's the whole point is okay. Let's have a pintable session beer that still retains a lot of character and presence that doesn't taste thin.
Yeah, it's very rye. You find like a rye flavored beer under 7%. So
Yep.
A toast. Oh, yeah. It's not like a punch of rye, but it's like just there.
It levels out after
Yeah.
that first impression, and it kind of stays with you, which I love.
Yeah, that is a fantastic beer. I'll be honest, out of the ones so far, that's my personal favorite.
Hey.
I know a lot of people who would really like the pale ale, your basic pale ale as well, and your dark ale, as we'll call it, your barley wine, because it's not like a barley wine that you're getting drunk off this. You can have one or two of these. It's still at 7.5%, so two.
It's on the lower end of a barley wine, not too syrupy.
Yeah.
And definitely approachable.
But this is something like along my lines. So we used to do beer tastings all the time, and there's one out of Ontario. They make an aged rye ale, and that's every year I see it at the LCBO. I'm like, oh, six pack.
Let's have that gorgeous red color.
It's the nose, the taste, and one of our friends put it best. It's like it's a hug from my grandfather. This is what this beer tastes like. So,
wow.
Yeah, that is. I mean, for me, obviously everybody's different. Everybody has a different palate, but for me, this is a fantastic beer. So.
At some point, I've sworn to myself. I took a vow that I would make the attempt at some point to make a rye wine. But any brewer in your audience is going to roll their eyes and say, "Oh man, you don't know the trouble you're asking for. That is a lot of glucose.
Yeah,
like all those proteins will kill your mash." I'm like, we can make that happen. I'm sure we can.
And you got to be careful about not killing your yeast, and there's so many like beer is art and science put together in a perfect kind of amalgamation of flavors. So it's very specific science. So. Like, even with the home breweries, like, oh, I got to check my temperatures. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. And we followed them on a brew day, and we're like, oh, my God, it's so much work. So.
But I'm really happy for home brewers nowadays because the quality of the equipment that's available on the market for, like, consumer level is getting much better than the little kits we started out with 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I've already looked. If and when I have my own house, it's like, I'm just going to get a Brewzilla. It makes things so much easier. So.
We started out with modified wine kits.
Yeah, but as long as you're not doing those chemical kits that I found, and I know they're super popular in America, it's like you just chuck everything in, pour water.
Right.
No,
I was full grain, like all grain brewing from the first day, even though my 5 first batches were complete disasters. Well, you got to learn somehow, right?
Speaking of that, like that first disaster, what was that first beer you ever brewed that you tried to make and ended up going nope?
So not going forward to the successes. You start with the failures.
Just that first beer that was like this is my job from now on.
Somebody's gonna have a laugh because my first batch that was a complete ruin is this overly complex recipe that only a noob would make. It was a maple stout with the wrong hops, way too much victory malt, way too much caramel malt, no balance, a complete wreck during the mash, a complete wreck during fermentation. It was this undrinkable swill that tasted like cardboard.
Awesome.
Some of the home brewers in the audience may relate. Godspeed, guys. You can do better, and you will.
Yeah. I mean, that must frustrate you. Well, when you're starting out, I get it. It's like, what I did didn't work. What happened? But now
you
I'm
learn
sure
something, and then you buy the Palmer book, and then you frequent forums, and you ask your friends, and you get the learning done.
Awesome. Now, obviously, you have no time to yourselves, but let's say I could finally take vacation again. I could sit on a plane without a mask for 6, 10, 12 hours. What's like a beer vacation you want to take that you haven't been on yet?
Oh, I would go like on a grand tour of Ireland, Britain, probably Belgium and Germany, basically. Like go for all these old beer roads where you go to a region and you taste the regional style in 5 or 6 permutations.
No, it's, I say we're already spoiled enough from when you think about it, like Ontario to the Maritimes, and you kind of include the U.S. where you go from New York to Maine. We're really spoiled for beer where we are in North America.
It's basically when people from Europe come over here and they discover our pubs, and that's been the reality for most of the East Coast, and I believe Ontario is very similar. I can't speak for the rest of Western Canada though. But their experience, they're absolutely shocked at the variety that one single pub will offer. Yeah. Because their experience back home is, you go to this place, they have the beer, the variant, and the stronger beer that they keep for like special occasions. And then every town is like that, and then you get really, really deep into the beer culture of that, but you don't see like this smorgasbord of styles that we can offer in a single location.
Yeah, it's I mean, even yourself, like, we have our 7 beers and then we have our guest taps, and just a variety that we have from a basic, lager to quadruple dry hop, blah blah blah, New England IPA. It's like, okay, cool. And then as for us, we even have Massachusetts right there, so it's like, oh, Sam Adams, every 2 years they have the Utopia. And that beer is something else. I mean, as somebody who's tried Utopia, I'm like, this is this is a beer, but it's not a beer at the same time. It's wild. As you mentioned, the Europeans coming over here and they're like, whoa, what's all this? And then obviously in Quebec, where there's 300 breweries now. So it's
crazy.
It's just never.
Back in 2015, we were finalizing our business plan and our studies and everything. We would gather all this data on the shape of the industry. Like there were 118, 119 breweries in Quebec.
Yeah.
Now it's close to 300.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bonkers. Like the proliferation of small places that do really good, interesting stuff. And when they discover something, they want their clients to share in it. So, yeah.
What I like to ask is somebody comes here, tries your beers, not your guest taps, just your beers. And they have a designated driver because don't drink and drive. That's super important.
Do not.
They have a designated driver. What are some local area friends that you're like, go here, go there, go here, go here, there?
Oh, I can definitely Toltec and Elements.
Yeah.
If you can go, they don't have a pub, but they Trois Mousquetaires are very close by, and they have a little store where you can get some stuff that you don't see on the shelves. That's basically it for the South Shore, unless I'm forgetting someone, but I usually go to Montreal to see a lot of the variety I wouldn't get otherwise.
I mean, you're only 15 minutes away from the island of Montreal, not even.
But if you go a little further down the road, then you'll see that in the regions there is a lot of stuff to discover. Anybody going out to the eastern townships will discover a lot of breweries that even we are unaware of, because the shape of things right now and the speed at which we multiplied, I would say, has even us left behind in terms of we don't know anyone. Like, who are these new people? When I get some free time, I will definitely come and check out your stuff because I'm curious now.
What's this last beer I'm trying?
You are looking at La Mervet, which is our harvest ale with the hops that we harvest ourselves. It's Limonadier hops. I think they are like native to Quebec. And the mash bill is just basically this old school Belgian saison.
Yeah, it's
very
all Belgian on the nose.
Very fruit forward from the action of the yeast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A toast.
Had to nail that last one.
Oh, that is a Belgian ale.
Like we don't have a vid beer or a Weiss beer on tap right now.
Yeah.
Well, whenever people ask for a blanche, that's usually where we try and filter them through, because it's the closest equivalent you'll get.
Yeah, it is the closest by far. Like that is almost. It's like that good balance between Belgian and wheat beer. So, wow. And just the spiciness on the nose. As soon as I put it to my nose and I'm partially blocked up because it's the winter, it's like, whoa, it's there. So
just a bit of rye there just to keep it spicy, earthy, present.
Oh, I will say, I mean, personal favorite was the rye for me, but all your beers have been absolutely fantastic, well balanced. Every brewer in Quebec though is always trying to bring up their best, and that's the important part. Is here's our brand, and we're very proud of it, and please enjoy our beers. Yep. So that's the most important part. And I mean, I love beer from Quebec. The two provinces I get to get beer from have all been great beers, so I can't complain. I have had bad beers, and I've written, I've direct messaged on social media. I'm like, hey, something was off about this beer, and they're like, oh, and they've first ever interview. Troy from Nabras said it's because of Untappd we learned something went out bad, so we recalled it. Yeah. And that's what's important is at least
that feedback is ever so important. So,
and I know there's some beer drinkers out there who are not exactly friendly toward the breweries. Like, this is the best beer I've ever had, too. What? Yeah. No.
Well, everybody's got their own scale, right? On Untappd and other review sites, like the best reviewers will, on their accounts, they'll explain what their scale is. So at least you get you get a feel for what they mean when they say 3 or 4.
Yeah. I know I haven't given a lot of 5s. It's rare. I've given a lot of 4.75s, but like 5s are, utopia. It's like, there's a reason it's a $200 bottle of beer. It's because it's
5 should blow your mind and your palate.
That's it. And Phil had brought one back from Boston. It was a raspberry gâteau pastry stout. I'm like, oh my god, it tastes like I'm drinking raspberry cake. So
that looks
it's even Drew at Kanawaki, his Black Forest stout, like that game, that was a 5 for me because it tasted exactly what you told me it's supposed to taste like. So it's that's the way I see things is. I mean, all your beers to me have been a 3 and above, no problem, hands down. this is like a 4.5 for me. That's me though. So I don't want to like influence anybody who
always gotta
doesn't.
account for
If you don't like
personal
a rye
taste.
beer, you're not going to like this beer. But if you enjoy your basic pale ale, that's a number 5 for you.
Yeah.
So it's super
Well,
important.
One of the things that we had to keep in mind, Martin and I, when we started this, is neither of us was interested in brewing a beer that we wouldn't drink ourselves.
Yeah.
So the idea is, if we're tripping on something, we love it, we want people to discover it, we want to share that with our customers. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, let's discover things together and let's see what you like.
No. And that's honestly, that's one of the most perfect outlooks that you have is, if we don't like it, you probably won't like it. So let's make something we like, and you'll probably like it.
Yep.
So that's great. Kind of what's next for Le Barrage?
More beers, more variety. Check us out. We're doing tastings at the Christmas market. We are looking to expand our cellar at some point, get more fermenters out there so we can ramp up production. And shows are coming back. That's a definite plus. Look forward to that next year.
Yeah. And you got the Mug Club coming up, obviously.
Yep. Also something we're going to be
Do you
announcing.
do like a trivia night or anything like that?
Yeah, we have trivia nights going on every Wednesday night at 7. People form teams of up to 6 people, and they compete for beer. Winner gets a pitcher for every round.
Prize.
Oh, horrible, unoriginal, passe.
Awesome. All right, this has been a fantastic interview. I appreciate all the beers and the time, obviously, you've taken out your schedule to speak with us today. Let my audience know where they can find you.
4200 Chemin de la Savane in Longueuil, closer to St-Hubert, right in front of the airport. We're a little ways off from Chemin Chambly. You can find us at www.lebarragebrasseurs.com, and we also have a Facebook presence on Instagram as well. And look for us, you'll find us.
So we're going to add all that in the links below in the comments on the video. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Notifications and comments also truly help the show. As for us, it's allbeerinside.com as a website, at allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.